As you make your way with your pizza.
Thank you.
Welcome to our annual membership meeting of Unity of Savannah. My name is Alan Clark. I'm the board treasurer. Hello. As always, we'll start with prayer, and we'll give those folks a chance to get to their seat. Just gather all your questions up, and I'll do the best I can to answer. Before we go into prayer, I recognize our president, Ms. Brenda. She'll raise her hand. You recognize?
I thank you for staying.
Ms. Linda Morgan, who is in the back in the pizza line. She's our secretary. And Mr. Henry Cherry, who is not with us today. And also Reverend Dale, who is, as you know by now, not feeling well. We're going to take this time to thank those members who are no longer serving. One being Ms. Carol Hodge, if she'll stand up. And I know that we're going to recognize these folks at our next meeting. So, but I want to take an opportunity to do it now, just out of respect to them. Ms. Catherine Thaggart, who you all know has moved to Mexico. That's right. And Ms. Katie. Is she still here? Okay. Well, I personally want to thank all those individuals for serving on the board. It's a lot of work, and they will be missed.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan.
I appreciate that. Let's bow our heads where we are in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to fellowship, not only with a wonderful meal, but also fellowship with our wonderful smiles and our wonderful answers and opinions to make this congregation, this church, the best that it can be. We pray also for Reverend Dale, who is under the weather. We pray that we all support him in his ministry so we see this church become a success that we know it can be. In Jesus Christ's name and the Holy Spirit, I pray. Amen. We've had to make some changes to the schedule for different reasons, so just bear with us. I know that we've asked Ms. Iris, who is our youth director, to, at some point during this, to give us a report on how the youth are doing. I know she's doing some great things over there. Those of you who have little ones know that. Also, I will be giving a financial report, the state of the church's finances. And also discussing the nominating committee members for this upcoming year, those who are chosen to, throughout the year, identify future board members. And then we'll take questions and comments from the floor. So I promised somebody that I would only take 30 minutes for this meeting. And so, but if you need to step out and leave, or we have a healthy discussion going, I can stay here all day. So either way, okay? I'm going to start with the financial report. Now, before I do, let's just pretend that I'm a weatherman. And the job of the weatherman is just to simply forecast. Doesn't mean that he's saying that You know, that tropical storm that's 1,000 miles off the shore of Miami is going to turn into a Category 5 hurricane and make it our way. But it's important that we have those things in place so we can prepare. So this is no different. Looking at our finances, we are healthy in the sense that we have money in reserve, but those funds are important for the foundation of the church, for any emergencies, any future expansion plans. You know, eventually we're going to need a new roof or air conditioning system, which we're currently trying to work on prices so we know how to budget for those things. But any business will tell you, you don't want to run off your savings. Any business will tell you if they start going into the savings, they probably want to close their doors unless they feel really, really, really confident about the product that they're selling. So the report that I'm going to give, I'm not suggesting that the church stop doing something or start doing something, but simply just to forecast what I'm seeing. Now, it's important to look at things in threes. So I took last year's numbers and went back 3 years. So what we're discovering, without boring you with all the details of it, because Henry Cherry warned me that I have a tendency to make things a little confusing. So I want to kind of make it as simple as possible without offending anybody's intelligence. In 2015, from our expenses, we had a 7% loss in terms of, I like to call it the bottoms in the seats, covering our expenses based on Sunday's offering. And we had to borrow money from, I call it our emergency fund, to cover expenses. In 2016, we had close to a 9% loss. Once again, that's money, Sunday offering, whether it be online or whatever type of giving, we're 9% off. So 7%, 2015, 2016, 9%. Okay. 2017, the board made a decision to not employ a secretary, which that number was around $8,000 or $9,000 a year that the individual was making. So we made a decision to hold off based on the numbers of the past. You know, so let's see how things go before we hire another person. So it ended up being a good decision because last year, if you discount the bequest, and those of you remember we had bequest funds donated by a family, which came out to $75,000. We recognized them in the last town hall meeting. Give me a second here. And although that was very important to our financial health, but if you took that number away, it came out to, if you add back in, if we would have added a secretary, and you take that number away from the total offering for the year, would have been at 10% loss. So you go 7, 9, then possibly 10. Fortunately, the board made that decision not to hire that position, so it ended up being a 5% loss. So I kind of thought then, I said, I wonder if it's trickling downward. So that's why I took that number out, the bequest number, plugged in if we were to hire that person, and that's why I got the 10%. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So, once again, I'm not standing here saying, okay, Becky, can you get the collection plate and just pass it around? That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that I'm going to challenge the board next month to put together a task force. That's probably not I'm using a military term, probably not appropriate for a church. And investigate, what's going on. Because I know I've given out in 3 years. I've been the first service usher, at least the last 3 years, missed maybe a few Sundays. I know I've given out a lot of welcome packets. And so I wonder if we need to track what when they visit us? Are they visiting because they're here to see friends? Are they taking us out for a test drive? And if they are coming and not coming back, is there a way to find out why? Another thing to look at, are there other churches that are experiencing the same thing? It could be a national issue. I don't know. I know the other day I saw where giving is up to so many billions of dollars, and I never thought about, there's a lot of people that's giving out there. So it was nonprofit type giving, everything. It was like over so many billions of dollars. I just threw that in there. But the point is, we need to look at, what can we do? I think attendance may be down a little bit. But the thing is, if it's not down, it's not necessarily up. So if we believe that on this earth, everything's in motion, constant motion, even things that are fixed like a chair is constantly in motion, then that means you got to be either moving forward or you're going backwards. So that's the reason for me bringing this forward to you, not to say that I'm up here wanting us to panic, because we could probably sit here and live off our reserves for the next 8, 9, 10 years. I didn't do that number because I don't want to go that route. But we could sit here and just simply backfill in our expenses. Nobody's the wiser. But I took an oath before you all that I would do my best as the board treasurer to watch over the funds and to be honest with you with what I see. So you're free to take that information and do with it, what you will. Okay. Any questions about that? Yes. This is Sally.
Thanks.
Most of y'all know I served on the board for 3 years as secretary. And last summer, the last time you gave us a financial report, I asked you after the meeting, when you talk about the emergency fund, you're talking about the building fund, right? The money that was donated toward a building, is that correct? We've changed the name of it.
Yeah. Well, I call it reserve because I know some people might get upset, but I call it reserve because there's no mention, there's no book saying what was earmarked for what.
Okay.
So
We're talking about the same amount of money.
yeah.
So at that time, you told me that we were bleeding out to the tune of $12,000 out of that fund when I left the board a year ago. Next meeting, you told me it was up to $18,000. So how many thousands of dollars have we taken out of that so-called emergency fund at this point?
That first year after I was asked to be treasurer, I know that there was some monies used in the reserve fund to cover expenses. I don't have that hard number for you. I'll be happy to email that to you tonight. And I don't want to sit here and get a calculator out and add what I have here on my laptop. And our hopes were that we were going to be in a position to put that back. That was my hopes. But as you can see, we're on a downward spiral, so we're not in a position. I mean, bequest, don't get me wrong, bequest was a huge help. And, but as you can see, the bottoms and the chairs is the important issue. That is too, but we're trying to look at working on solving, increasing attendance and that sort of thing. So I will personally get that number to you this week. Yes. Sure.
Or maybe this is just a comment. I really appreciate your candor, Alan, first of all. We talk about people that drop by, visit, and we don't see them again. But, when I look at this room, I've been here 7 years, and there are a lot of people that I used to know who came here who are gone. And I think that's probably a bigger source of information that we need. Customers walk with their feet, they vote with their feet. So we have a lot of people that used to come that don't come anymore. And I think it'd be very valuable to find out why and to perhaps see about welcoming them back into the fold. I think that would be a huge source for us.
I just have a comment in regard to that.
as the board, we have been addressing that situation. And so now we had talked about a task force, like you had mentioned, to find out why people are not coming back, and then when we pass out the packets, how can we track that information? So we are cognizant of that fact, and we are going to work diligently to try to find a solution so that we can find out why there's a difference in retention or attrition for our congregants. So we take it very serious. I just want you to know that I'm devoted and really focused on that issue. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Brennan, and thank you to Sally. And one reason I can't really get that number right now, too, is because part of the bequest was used to help cover some funds, too. So I don't want to stand here and just throw a number at you without it being accurate. So, thank you. So, would anybody that's, oh, yes. No, go ahead, because I'm going to switch gears. Go ahead.
So, with all of that, one of the, maybe that if we have a mid-year meeting, town meeting, that we put it basically knowing that's going to be on the agenda now, so we have a timeline of trying to figure things out without, a very short time, but, at least that will then give us a goal to hit. By mid-year, we'll have some answers to questions that we posed at the beginning of the year. If we can put that on a future agenda, that way we know every month that we're working closer to that date of, someone asking the same question, not waiting a year.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I asked the board in November for us to go ahead and earmark the town hall days. So we have all that in place. And so, I believe it's 4, 1 a quarter, 1 a quarter. So if you do the numbers, Jennifer, was April meeting? So that gives us a first look at the first quarter. So it's a perfect time to discuss that. So thank you. Those involved, any other questions about what I just reported out on? If not, I'm going to switch gears. I don't want to depress us. And believe me, it's kind of tough staying up here reporting that, so get a little holler and calm. No tomatoes are flowing up in yet, so that's good. Any of the strategic planning groups want to report out? Yes. Tell us your name, and then we'll group you with. I know who you are.
I'm Josie Bustos, and I'm chair of the Spiritual Debt Working Group. And in the group is Monique, is she still here, or did she step out? And Carol, who's sitting right here, and Freddie, if he's still here, and Rev Dale and myself. Quick update on what we are up to. We're putting together a survey for the congregation to get input on areas that we perceive might be of interest to them, to find out, are we on track, are we not? Do you have interest in this item or not? Do you have interest in that item or not? We've also sent out emails to the other 4 working groups inquiring if they wanted to participate in our survey. We've heard back from Alan with some good questions. I have met with Linda, who's going to get back to me, and I've yet to hear from the other working groups. So if you can let me know where you stand, we would be happy to see. I've got, if you didn't get the memo, the email, I will give you copies. I brought them with me. You're not on the list for any one of the groups. Brenda, well, we only sent it to the leaders in the group, and Rev Dale had told me that Brenda and Carol were the leaders. So I sent the email to both of them. The same way, one group, which is the group that Tony is in, they want all 5 board members there, of that group want to have copies. So one of the things we're going to do, because we had heard that sometimes the congregation doesn't respond to surveys, this is going to be an electronic survey, so you can get online and answer it. But what we're going to do, we're going to bring our laptops and be here either before and after the services. And so those individuals who don't have a cell phone or a laptop, we will be happy to sit down and input the information. And we're limiting it to 3 questions per group. if each group wants to submit, 3 questions. We don't want to overpower anybody. So that is what we are up to. And if any of you leaders did not get your email, I brought copies of them with me, so I'll be happy to give them to you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, I forgot, Ms. Marguerite was nice enough to make some copies of the December's financials, which is for the whole year. I'll sit those here if anybody wants to browse through those. Any other strategic? We really want to try to make, we invested $1,500 to bring that Ms. Robin Volker in. She did a fantastic job for those of you that were here. So we want to make sure that we continue to encourage those groups to forge ahead so we can make use of that investment. So I think several groups have been doing a lot of work, so we want to applaud them for that. The prosperity team, which I am head of, we had the prosperity workshop January 11th. I thought it was a big success. If you were here at that, please stand. You came to that. Okay. Now, you might want to talk to those folks to see how really well read it was. The speaker was very knowledgeable. We spent the first evening just discussing budgets and just general knowledge type of things. And 10% of the congregation showed up. We normally average 102 people. There's about 12 people there. So 10% of the congregation is pretty strong to me with something like that. So the next meeting is April the 5th or 9th. You'll be hearing more about that later. And that's going to be on debt reduction, credit cards, things like that. So it's free. If you can make it, it's going to be, I know it's a Thursday, first Thursday of the month, from 6:30 to 8:30. So if you can make that, that'd be fantastic. I'm not, yes.
Mr. Cherry's not here, so I'll speak for the outreach.
Hi, I'm Linda Morgan. I guess I'm like assistant chair or co-chair or something of the outreach committee. So I'm happy to be there, and we had a wonderful time at the MLK parade. How many people were on the float at the, oh, yes, yes. I think we did a really good job. It's better and better every year, and everybody who planned it so much put a lot into it. And we've tried to do one outreach event every month. So we also had one in January, which was flu. I think it was a Pride Festival. Yes, no, that was in the summer. Anyway, we've had a major event that we show up at every time, and then also we had a drive for school supplies for the new charter school. And let's see, Mr. Medici you have some other ideas about what we've done? Because you have been representing us at a lot of things.
Huh?
You were at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did the food festival with Tammy Stokes.
Food festival, we did
Mm-hmm.
the gay parade.
Mm-hmm.
Gay parade.
Yeah. So we've had a presence in the community from that, and it's really put us in touch with a lot of people. I think people have a better awareness of unity as a group, and they know we're not the Unitarians. Nothing wrong with the Unitarians. So, so anyway, I think that the outreach has such a huge function, so we had to narrow it down to just things that we could manage to do. So that's where we are. We're keep chugging along. We have some more upcoming events. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other groups? Strategic intentions? I'm going to ask Ms. Iris, our youth director, to report out on what wonderful things they're doing with the little ones next door.
Good afternoon. I would like to start by thanking everyone for your support, your kind words, your ideas. Just thank you all so much for that. I always feel like I'm so blessed to be in that position to work with the children. I get so much from it. So in our biggest news is that our nursery person, the person that we had hired to anchor our nursery, has moved on. She is in school now full time, and so she's not, and is away from this area, so she's not able to continue in that position. So we do have, we are looking for someone to fill that position. We're looking for a special person, someone who really cares about children. I know many people have said to me, well, what about someone within the congregation? Just know that we're looking for someone who can make the commitment for every Sunday. There will be some scheduled Sundays off. So, you know, I think that makes it kind of like, if you're going to commit to doing the nursery, that means if you want to do service, you got to do the early service. Yes, and it is a paid position, as Becky has reminded me. So one of the things that I know, parents check out nurseries. They'll come to a church and they'll check out the nursery if they have young children. They won't bring their children the first time. And so we're looking for that type of commitment and the continuity. Children who are infants and toddlers, they need to see the same face every week. It's really hard to be really effective with volunteers, which is how we got to this. That's just some background. So if you know someone who you know, attends another church or doesn't attend church but is great with children, you know, we just have that, holding that position open. And I hope you will continue to pray with me and vision for that perfect spirit to come into that position. The second thing is, as you know, as part of the strategic planning group last year, we have changed the language in how we describe our program with our children. And we have changed, taken out the word education, because of the connotations, the many connotations that people have, you know, with that word. For each of us, if you say education, it brings up a different idea. Our children attend school 5 days a week. They have to. Even for them, that's education. You know, they get that idea. They have to be there. So we have decided to change the word to enrichment. And I have shared this with our Southeast Regional Coordinator. She loves the idea that we have picked up that word. It really resonates with Myrtle Fillmore's idea that our children are like flowers, and nobody tells a flower how to grow. You don't educate a flower. You provide it with fertilizer, water, you put it in the right environment so it can do what it knows it's supposed to do. It can blossom, it can bloom. And so that's the focus that we now have, and just, you know, doing activities with our children that allow them to unfold. And with that, I am happy to say that Brother Tim and Sister Chi have stepped forward this month, and they have been leading our children in a 12 Powers movement activity. So our children are learning about their 12 powers, their 12 gifts, through yoga poses. There's a pose that goes with each power. The children are learning how to embody those gifts. So I am really excited about it. I got a chance to get on the board this morning because we had some space, but really it's dedicated for our children, a way for them to really understand that these things are in them. So I am really excited about that and looking forward to other ways that our congregation can share their gifts with the children. I hear music, I see art, and some of you guys have talents, and I know you do, And so just, come to me and let's talk about ways that our children, you can share your gift with the children in a way that helps them to recognize their gifts and develop spiritually. The other thing, our children are beginning to do some outreach as well. Last month in December, they did ornaments, Christmas tree ornaments for Miss Evelyn's trans program. Thank you. What's the word? The home that she is heading up. And so it gives them an opportunity to reach out into the community. So we'll be looking for other opportunities for children here as well. So any questions?
Thank you for everything you do for kids.
This one is for me.
Just reminded me of when my children were young, when you said about education. My son, I guess he was about 6, said to me, well, he might have been a little age, say. He said, Mom, why do we have to go to school? And I said, well, you have to educate your mind. And he said, well, why do we have to go to church? I said, well, you have to educate your spirit. And he said, well, why do we have to go to dance class? I said, well, you have to educate your body. He said, that's too much education.
Okay, last two things. The nominating committee for finding new board members is going to be made up of Reverend Dale, Ms. Brenda, Ms. Peggy, and Ms. Barbara. And so they will be trying to identify all these talented people, like the ones here in this room, to bring before the congregation to be possibly become members. We've kind of struggled with the process in the last couple of years, but I told myself, I want to make sure we, do a better job with it this year. I know myself and Ms. Linda, this is our last term. We can re-up, of course that's up to the congregation, but we can do a second, third term if need be. But we also need to be identifying more talented people in our congregation so that, imagine having experienced board members mingling around the church. That's pretty powerful. So they may be correct, spread out the leadership. Yes?
So this year you're only going in with 4?
5.
Okay, so who are the...
Well, technically covered it. The pastor is considered a board member, from what I understand. So it's 5. Did I say 4?
Yeah.
Did I? I apologize.
Brenda, Peggy, Barbara,
I'm hearing shit.
No. But I'm saying for the board itself, not for the nominating committee.
Currently, the board is made up of 5 members
Right.
as of right now.
And isn't that a pretty low number historically? Why was there not any brought up for this year to replace the ones that are last year?
Well, you had Catherine who moved,
Right.
and then you had Ms. Katie who resigned.
Right.
So,
And
It's in the
Carol
bylaws. Sherry was an alternate.
yep. And Carol's term,
is up. So that we lost 3, we gained 0.
correct. And that's why I made the statement that this year I'm gonna help stay behind this, because the process kind of got dropped. Last year, everybody just gets busy, so many things going on. So
Should
let's,
we try to recruit one before next year? Because if we lose one more, then you are not valid aboard.
one of the, well, just in a brief discussion with the pastor, we can add an alternate during the course of the year according to our bylaws. And so that's kind of something we're investigating.
So Cherry was an alternate, and he is finished with that one-year alternate position, or is he now full member?
No, he's not a full member.
He's now full member.
Yes.
Hey, just to answer Michael's question, the bylaws allow for a range of numbers, and it does now meet the minimum number. The minimum number is 5. There are 5 full board members.
Right, but if we lose one between now and next year, it's not. So wouldn't we be
Well,
would it be
whenever
prudent to
next-
have extra board members?
Yeah.
No, there are 5 board members now for 2018. And so if 2019 is a new year and needs, then that's what the nominating committee is for, is finding candidates.
Right, but how many years have we gone without losing a board member
0.
in the past 10 years?
No, 0 years.
So what I'm just saying, wouldn't it be prudent to have a larger board rather than a smaller board?
Right, now I understand your question. I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm making sure that I bring up who's on the nominating committee, because it's kind of like if you don't keep bringing it up and saying it. Right, and that was the whole thing for it, yeah.
So that these new, I'm sorry.
Just to stay on that point, I'd like to ask that every Sunday or every other Sunday, when announcements are made, that they mention that there is a committee looking for members who would like to do the service. And please identify yourselves. And you just raise your hand, feel free that they can come up to any one of us who might be present in that Sunday service to identify. I'm kind of interested, because other than that, having a campaign to seek out people is a little more complicated.
Okay.
Yeah, just every Sunday, because we all won't be here every Sunday, but
Right.
somebody, other than Reverend Dan.
Well, of course, bringing it up right now, anybody that's interested may stop you at the door.
Right.
And that was another reason for it too, so they can start. I know Ms. Peggy's not here, but certainly any of us can help anybody that's interested, wanting to know. But I understand your question, Mike. It's a valid question, because anything can happen.
So just for my own slowness, clarification, the nominating committee is working on nominees for 2019 or for now?
2019.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, for 2019. That's why I'm bringing it up now, because it's supposed to be sort of searching throughout the year. I think in the middle of the year, names should start, being tossed about, that kind of thing. Yes, so.
If board members, for whatever reason, cannot stay on the board, can we have alternates?
Yes.
Can we vote in alternates for this year? I mean, I understand what Mike is saying. What happens if 2 people, for whatever reason, can't serve on the board? Can the nominating committee nominate 2 alternates? Kind of like have them, on standby. Is that in the bylaws? Can that be done?
Yes, that can be done. Like I said, I had a brief discussion with the Reverend last night about that very point. Thank you.
This is a deviation from the board. I just wanted to take this moment to thank Monique and all the people who worked with me on the parade committee. Shayla was one. My usher friend over there was one. We had a ball on, the dynamic duo who do yoga. But by the way, well, I got it, I'm going to tell you. The planning started last Wednesday for next year's parade. If you have any ideas, any thoughts, get them to me or Monique. And we'll review them and see what we can, and then we'll have a meeting and see how it goes. We want to get bigger and better. Now, we were bigger and better this year. That's only this year. Oh, the band, too. I got to thank the band. Reverend Dale, Rochelle. Hopefully next year we'll have the whole band. That is our goal. Our goal is, as a part of outreaching this church, is to display what we are. And that's one of the best places I can find for you to display unity of Savannah. So thank you all who participated. I hope you're all back next year. I hope that you have some good ideas that we could talk. One idea I've already gotten mine, we're going to have 2. not one, 2 entries, one for walkers and one for the float. More to be revealed.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I just got a quick question. I know we talked about what the minimum number on the board was. What is the maximum number? For a full board? Thank you.
Do I hear that?
You could probably hear it, but are these positions that just anyone can drop in, or are these positions that people need to be prepped for? So should we have alternates prepped right now for this year should someone leave, or if someone does leave in 6 months, anybody can just be voted and thrown into this position and they know what to do?
Well, like I said, I had a brief discussion with Reverend Dale yesterday about the fact that the bylaws does allow us to add an alternate during the year. So we're currently working on that.
Just briefly, to answer that, you have to be a member in good standing for 2 years. There's some criteria.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have a question about the, I believe it was $75,000 endowment, is that right? Okay, so is that earmarked? How's that going to handle? Is that in the general fund, or just talk to us about that, please?
Sure. 10% of that was tied to various organizations, and then part of it was used to help with operating costs. So it's currently, no, it's currently about 62,000, would you say? Yes. There's some other things that we have the sound system that we were awarded. We were awarded matching funds for the sound system, things of that nature. So, yes, currently sitting in the general fund.
As far as that money goes, as far as the situation goes, you have no choice but to take the money, right? There is no other option but to take the money at the end of the month to pay the bills.
Yes,
right?
that is correct.
So even if that money's there is no option but to take it because there's just no other money to pay the bill.
Well, there would be other money, but it would be coming out of what we are, some of it's been earmarked, some has not. It's,
Okay.
yeah, so I guess we're being very frugal, I guess, with the future, but not wanting to just sacrifice the present.
But there's nothing that we could do today to stop from taking that money, other than getting more people in and more people tithing.
Right.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I didn't want to go the whole, tithing course. I know that, kind of offends a lot of people. That to me is between everyone and their God.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go that route. That's why I preface everything. Like, look, I'm just forecasting because I believe it's important for everyone to know what's going on, but I'm not going to stand here and tell everyone what to do with their wages. I don't feel that's in my place.
Well, I don't know if this is, if I should be speaking at the town hall, but I'm going to speak a little. This is one of the most giving Unity churches that I have ever been in. And I travel. You know those, like the Lenten books or what, they're out there? We're giving them away. Every other church, it's $1.50 for those books. You go into the fellowship hall, you're paying $1 for a cup of coffee. Yes. Yes, these are Unity churches. Well, Evelyn knows.
Yeah. Unity in Teaneck, which has, they just moved into a big church, 3 times this size. I always call it's not Harmony Hall, but I call it Harmony Hall because I'm used to saying Harmony Hall from Teaneck. But when you go into Teaneck, what do we call ours? Fellowship Hall. When you go into Fellowship Hall, everything that you eat in there, you pay for. Yes, everything. Cup of coffee, cup of tea, donut, whatever it is. Those books are not even, if you want them, you get them. I still get mine from Unity Village. It comes in the mail. I pay for it. It's a subscription. So this
unity, and I think what we want to look at also is as we give, we receive. This is one of the most loving unity churches that I have ever been in. The congregants in this church is much more loving than the congregants in Teaneck. And I'm not saying that just to appease anybody, but the hearts in this church are much larger. We give, and as we give, we receive. So I'm not saying that we change our mode of operation. What we are doing is working for us. And good evidence of that is our prayer groups that we had in our homes, the different prayer groups. Everyone that attended the prayer group that we had, we all got everything we prayed for by just giving to one another. So this is one of the most giving unity churches that I've ever attended. And Eric Butterworth was my mentor back in 1969 and 1970. They had 4,000 people in Lincoln Center, and none of them were as loving as these people here. And I say that honestly, with no, I'm not saying it against anybody at Lincoln Center, but it was 4,000 people down there, and nobody knew anybody. You know, so we are a loving church, and we want to continue to be a loving church, but we do have to remember it is by giving that we receive. So we just want to hold that in our hearts. Just like you said, that's between us and our God, each individual and whatever higher power they believe in. Thank you.
I might suggest, though, we put a donation box by those things, or by in the fellowship hall have a donation box, I don't know, jar or something. Yes.
And to belabor the tithing issue, I don't look at it as tithing so much as taking care of the place where I attend, where I fellowship with you guys. You know, as a musician, I give to myself my equipment. You know, Monique and I, we put money into our house, we take care of our house, and they'll put money into your church. If you want this place to survive and to exist, we have to take care of it. Nobody else is going to come take care of it for us. We have to do it. So if you want to keep coming here and keep all this going, then, you know, instead of saying, oh, shit, I don't want to give money today, you know. It's not so much as giving or tithing because God said to tithe, is you got to take care of where you're at. And, you know, that doesn't make it an issue so much. We'll give you whatever you can. If it's $10, $5, $20, whatever, at least you're giving something. So just take care of where you're at, and we'll continue to grow. And then some days you give more, some days you give less. And so that's just the way I look at it. And if that helps anybody, hopefully that will help you to continue to give, because we need to take care of where we're at. There's no other place like this, and we're here for a reason. So if you want to keep it going, then you know, you got to give, and it'll come back to you.
And the other thing was that I know you made the decision not to have a secretary, but I wonder how the stress level is for the people that had to take over without a secretary. Has it been okay for them?
Explain that we're assessing things this first quarter before we move on as far as a secretary or anybody else that we hire. So it was an agreement or consensus that we look at where we are before making a move to go further. And we know we do need a secretary, but that's in discussion as well, so.
Yeah, and I did an assessment for the board. I think it was October 2017 meeting, where I looked at expenses in that regards, and we're currently paying out about 64% just on salaries, and that's
extremely high.
You know, fortunately, we don't have a mortgage. I think while we're able to continue to be generous in that, but we don't have a mortgage. But normally, and it's debatable. You talk to some people that say, well, it should be 40%. Somebody else says 50%. It's debatable. But salaries is where you really, you know, spend the bulk of your money. We have great people working for us. You know, we want to pay them handsomely. I mean, that's not what I'm saying here, but we do have to look at that, especially, and I guess those that work in the office could probably attest to whether or not they feel stressed out. You know, I know I've tried to help, you know, with my role as treasurer to do a few things. So, and we can always use, you know, a volunteer or two, because we're finding they did a study, and they're finding that churches don't survive on staff; they survive on volunteers. And when you hire too many people, you actually negate, like Kyle was talking about today, that serving. You actually negate people's opportunity to give. So, you know, Becky running the guild, and you know, prayer chapel group, all these other things are actually more powerful than just, you know, hiring a position. But we understand what you're saying. It's constantly on our minds to do a better job of that. Yes.
Yeah. Part of the thing of giving is also if you have people being part of the church, becoming, let's say, casual users, going into being more than casual, being directly members, the more they're involved by doing volunteer things, by taking classes, that's what vests them into. And as you were saying, what you're vested into, you then give to, because you realize that there are needs and desires, and part of it is that when you give, like you say, as part of your life, and knowing that it's, and the more you start giving, and the more you're vested into principles and teachings, then you realize that you're receiving in different ways. So I think it becomes much more natural if you have someone that comes in the first time, the first 6 months, they may be giving the $10 a week, which is wonderful. But then after a year, if they've taken classes, what they start giving more as part of their lifestyle rather than as a payment for $10 for coming for an hour. They're now looking at it as more than an hour's worth of value in their week. So I think those are processes of increasing is by making people vested a little bit more by classes, by volunteer positions. So it's not like we say, because you could be saying, if everyone just gave 10% more, the person giving $10 gives $11, and everyone giving $100 gives $110, and that causes the books to work, but it's really not creating the result we want. The result we want is more people, more active, staying here, creating a community, because church is a community, and what we have to explore, which we're looking at, is it a revolving door, or is it a community? So we have to try to make that community in different ways, and thinking, I think, more in that process than, like you say, just a dollar amount have to be raised or things like that.
Correct. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Unless there's any other questions from the floor, I know most of you have had a long day and probably ready to head out, but feel free, definitely, anytime to tap me on the shoulder if you have a question about anything doing with the board or finances.
I'll do it in one word. Mary Ann Williams.
Okay. Well, we did the numbers on that, and it looked like, based on what she was requesting and what it would have taken to find a venue and all that, that it was going to be an investment by the church of about $40,000. About 40. So we as a board made a decision to not go that route.
Can I tell a little story then?
Sure. Need a mic?
No, I don't need a mic. I'm Tony Piazza, for those of you that haven't seen me up there with congregations and service. And be advised, that's coming up soon. I used to live over there on Hayden many years ago. Didn't realize what this was, didn't have any clue. Member of the 12-step program that has a meeting, or had a meeting over there on Saturday nights. Started going to that. Still wasn't really interested in what was happening in here. One of my spiritual teachers is Neil Donald Walsh. Many years ago, Unity of Savannah brought Neil Donald Walsh to Savannah, put him up in Ashbury because you don't have the room here at that time. Going into that to see Neil, they were giving out little packets. I'll date myself here in a minute. 6 months later, I started going through this little package. I said, there's a little cassette in there. It says something about a meditation on there. You know, and this other program that I'm with, we have a step that says, through prayer and meditation, we try to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand. So I popped that in and listened to that meditation. I said, wow, that's pretty good. That brought me here. When I came in here, I saw what Ms. Evelyn was talking about, the love that was in here that made me keep coming back. There were a few times it got kind of scary over the years when we didn't really have a minister. We were popping ministers in and out. Almost discouraged me from coming. But then we found this little New York Jewish lady, and things got better. You know, and the rest is history, as they say. But that's what brought me to you. That's why I was so excited about when we started talking about Greenberry. Just a little history on my part.
Yes, thank you.
I was thinking about what Mike said about community, and just wondering about, like, every so often during the service that congregants have a chance to say a way to just share a way that being part of unity has helped them feel that they are truly part of a loving community. You know, because then the new people coming in hear that and go, you know, like that would have really touched me deeply, you know, the first few times I was coming in.
You mean like a video?
No, just testimony. Like, you know, like my example is when I had to evacuate. Like, this would be an example I would share. When I had to evacuate because of the hurricane, we had nowhere to go. I mean nowhere to go all of a sudden. And I was somehow, I don't know, through Reverend Dale, we found a Unity member that had just offered her house in Athens. You know, and because of being part of this community, we had a place to go during an evacuation. So I'm talking about things like that. That to me is truly community and just goes beyond saying 5 principles every Sunday. You know, that we take care of each other, we look out for each other. So I don't know. I mean, that's.
Judy had mentioned putting a donation box in the coffee room. It seems like the topic got changed really quick on the heels of her statement. But I just wanted to say that I agree and, you know, bring it up again to put it in people's minds.
And out here too.
Anytime
you have literature available to just, you know, give people an easy opportunity to give. You know, just to have the vessel there, it allows people to just do that, as opposed to having to go, I mean, because people could do it anyway, but if you just have it there, then it's almost like a reminder, oh, here's a place I can give. Like we have our prayer box, you can have a donation for the material. Just have it there.
Don't you have a tip jar for the band?
We don't be for stage. We'll be for stage.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I just want to say about it that I agree. Make it easy to donate, but at the same time, be careful that it doesn't look like nickel and dime. Like, oh, you know, here, put in. You have to do this. You have to do that. But like, yeah, there's a donation box. We know where it is. It's easily accessible. You feel moved to give, but not like, oh, did you put $1 in for your cup of coffee? Not like that. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to be able to, or the board, investigate larger ways. It's kind of like, you know, trying to save money doing small things, you know, so the big things. So I'm going to challenge the board for us to come up with large ways so that we're not, you know, feeling that we have to do something like that. Sure.
Are we looking for anybody else to come in and speak? We couldn't get Mary Ann.
Yes.
Who's not as expensive, but
Yeah.
maybe has.
That's a good question. We're still sort of recovering over that whole situation because it was a struggle, at least for me. You know, I was you know, interested in it happening, but it just seemed like we couldn't decide. Part of the struggle for me was being the treasurer course, I'm looking at, okay, how much money can we make? But that may not be the whole philosophy of the church. And then if you're not going to try to make money, are we willing to put a $40,000 investment in something and not know how it's going to turn out? So that was my personal struggle.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of in line with what she's saying too. So, because I was thinking about events and things like that. So, is that profitable? I mean, was the Met event? I know there wasn't that many people here, but those events, I mean, is it profitable for the church? I mean, do we have to pay them to be here? Are those situations, is that an option to do more to try to bring people in?
I think some of the people who come on a love offering basis.
Correct. That's what so I don't know, is that something that's profitable in the end for the church? I mean,
It's somewhat profitable for the church because we share the
yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Come on, national speaker or just...
No, I just mean like how we have Matt Benuti. We have so many, I mean, there's so much talent here in Savannah. Why can't we tap into that and try to utilize that and bring people into the church? Maybe a Friday night thing or where we just have a love offering. I'm sure there's so many performers and different things that would be happy to help out in this situation. You know, like we're having you come in, of course, we share with them some of what we make with them. The church, we're kind of just offering a venue. We are creating a venue space for them to be here, and everyone is gaining. And we're also bringing new people in. We're touching different aspects of the community. We're bringing people in who wouldn't have been here normally. You know, they're also out there speaking on our behalf, and they're bringing people and advertising for us. I mean, you know, so then we're getting people from all over, and we've got to keep some of those people after the fact that are going to come back and check us out on a Sunday, you know. I mean, if they're willing to come here on a Friday night, I mean, I'm sure we can get them in here on a Sunday.
Yes, thank you. That's a good question. I know we have one of the strategic groups. I think that falls under their category, so maybe just a matter of getting a calendar and work with them.
Yeah.
It is an outreach.
We have that in place, so it's a matter of working with them and working with the calendar. And one of the things I'm trying to, and hoping that the board does, is I would like to see us do a better job of 2019, 2020, because these speakers' calendars are open. So it also helps me from a budget standpoint, but also helps the church plan. So that's really something that we need to really start doing more of.
Is that something the secretary would do?
Well, I mean, Reverend Dale normally does the calendar. I don't know what his day-to-day, I don't know what his day-to-day, I know he does handle the calendar. So,
There's a lot of work involved because
There's a lot of work
it's
involved.
not only the space, the logistics, the advertising, the person who's going to be here, other conflict, there's a lot of things, a lot of variables involved, and that is something that I know our group has also discussed with Rev Dale because of other arguments we've had. So it's something to keep in mind, and it's something that maybe we can put in the survey. We hadn't designed it where you can actually write in something, let's say, but maybe that's something we could do. Are there any speakers that you would like to see in church?
Maybe we narrow the survey and we make them know that the whole point of the survey is to narrow our focus so that we can offer relevant material to the members that are here today. So that way we're not paying people to come to give classes that people don't really want to do that. So the whole point of the survey, and stress it, it's so important that y'all are filling this out, getting it back to us so that we're creating relevant content that affects your life today, right now, where you are.
That's wonderful survey. Because we had ideas of things we wanted to put on and had workshops, but we decided, wait, we got to find out what the congregation is interested in. There's no purpose, you know, scheduling something and nobody's interested. So that's the purpose of the survey.
we've had some good dialogue today, as I think we always do. And unless somebody else has anything else, I'm going to, yes ma'am.
As far as what is needed for our growth, I think we're trying to figure out how we can attract and build our community here at Unity. So like, at least common threads that I've heard is like we need a place of love, peace, no judgment, a place that, or area that offers spiritual growth and development, understanding of self and a journey to the knowledge of self, community gatherings around food and music, active spiritual awakening,
and then different versions of fundraising, so like fundraising and fundraising, like raising our fund vibrations, and then workshops in that aspect of the fundraising type of things. And then also considering, instead of also bringing people here to go out and do things in different areas of Savannah, so we might, you know, do a show on Forsyth or whatever, but just going out outside of these walls as well as bringing people in here could also raise awareness of who we are. And then topics as far as we're trying to create a holistic spiritual growth presence, and so topics as far as covering different aspects of spiritual wellness, because, you know, maybe do a variety of series or lectures or workshops or activities covering, you know, could be spiritual health and nutrition, it could be art, it could be music, it could be storytelling. I've been looking a lot into or starting to read about the Native American traditional things. They did a lot of ceremonies based around music, dance, and storytelling. And so that was ways to get people together, get people involved, get people moving together, harmonizing together, and then that can help to bring different types of peoples and things. And so that's how.
Good, thank you, thank you, thank you. And one last thing I forgot, Reverend Dale asked me to mention to you all that we are revising our website. He's very excited about it, making it a little bit more interactive, and so that will be on the horizon.
There's more information about all this on the website.
About the website changing?
No, the website has a lot more information about some of the things we touched on.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Who's the webmaster?
I believe he's going to be handling that, is that correct?
Because,
Yes, yes.
Is the budget available online? Like, so members log in and see this information?
No.
Like, so although, so do we never tell the general congregation that we've been losing for the last 3 years? Have we never told that yet?
It's usually in the pieces of paper that are handed out.
Gotcha, so that means they know.
Yeah, I believe we're posting it, supposed to be posting in the fellowship hall and online. I want to say there is some older information on board meetings and things of that nature online, or at least it's supposed to be. So I think it's probably, there may be some disconnect in terms of who are from where that's.
Maybe people just aren't aware. You know, maybe people just aren't aware that they're, you know, since we don't talk about the bad side, everybody's just looking at the good, but there is still reality.
Well, like you say, financial updates throughout the year at the general congregation thing are very valuable, whether it be quarterly. It's a 2-minute, like, hey folks, this is where we are, we're going up, you know, we're running a little behind so far. And like you say, that keeps people also, wow, you know, maybe I should pop a little more extra in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think giving financial information as broadly, but even, I mean, a lot of churches will put it in the pamphlet they hand out every week. We don't have to go that route. We just say every quarterly, we'll just give a promo. Because we try to do it in the congregation, over in the hall, we try to do it online, and neither have been successful this
Right.
year.
Yeah, these things are not the most fun to read and go through. I mean, it usually takes me a few minutes to get my eyes, you know, squared on them. So, but I'm always willing to sit down with anybody to tap me on the shoulder and go over it. Because usually I have a copy with me the previous month. And it was a struggle today to bring all that up because, you know, you want to stay prosperous thinking, but I felt like the congregation needs to know, so we don't mind doing that if we have to. So I've asked Linda to pray us out, unless someone has anything else, and I appreciate the good dialogue
We appreciate you.
today. Thank you.
Thank you. For being up there the whole time. That's not the usual role of a treasurer, so we really appreciate you fulfilling about 5 different people's roles up there.
Well, I'm being arrogant. I think it's my ego. I don't want to relinquish it.
And so for those that want to have a copy of the financials for this year, you said they were
There. But it is it available? It's not, is it available somewhere? That's what they were just asking, wasn't it? It's supposed to be in the fellowship hall, okay, all right.
Like I said, I have copies.
Okay, good, all right. Well, if it's all right with everyone, we'll just close with prayer, all right? Would you just pause? And thank you so much. Let's pause for a moment and just soak in the warmth and love that we have here at Unity. And we know that we are part of God and God is part of us, and we are all exactly where we are supposed to be. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this and expanding into our community and the world, and our sending peace, love, and light to everyone, including members of our congregation and outside, and that we are definitely guided and led and inspired in all of what we are doing. So we are relaxing in God, knowing that all is well and all is in divine order. And thank you, God. Amen.